What's up, guys? It's Ruben with Alpaca Trading. Many of you have asked for a video on how to swing trade and how to find good stocks to basically hold overnight. Now, I'm just going to go over real quick what a swing trade is for those of you that may not be very familiar. A swing trade is basically a position that you take on a stock or an option that you will hold overnight. Now, it can mean that you're going to hold it, from Monday to Tuesday, but it can also mean that you're going to hold it for a period of a week or 2 weeks, sometimes even long-term, 3 or 6 months. So just to make it clear, there is no true way of finding stocks to swing, because a stock is like a living organism that basically comprises of just the psychology of people and their sentiments, thinking, what is the stock going to do next? But the proper way of saying it is more like, how can we find the perfect setup for a swing? So let's start with that. I have Roku here on my screen, which is a stock that today, as of February 14th, 2019, had this huge gap up here. I'm on the 15-minute chart. As you guys can see right here, it literally went from about 44.75 all the way to 50.62 in a matter of just a day. And this is basically what you want to be looking for when it comes to a swing trade. Now, as you can see on the 15-minute chart, right around this area right here, this was December 24th, which we all know is when the stock market hit that low of 233 on SPY, and then basically since then the stock has been on an uptrend ever since. Now, when you're looking for a swing trade, you want to be able to not just go based on technical analysis, but this is where you also want to look at the fundamentals. The fundamentals are going to provide you with the actual strength of the company and where they're going and how they're doing compared to others. Now, Roku has been in the news and they have had nothing but positive news. So because of that, the sentiment is that Roku is going to be a strong contender for a possible gap up, or for for the stock to just continuously be moving in the correct upward direction with that momentum and price action. So as you can see here, all around this area right here, so from about January 8th all the way to about, let's say, January 22nd, the stock consolidated between, let's see here, the stock consolidated between 38.92 and about, I want to say, 43.50. So I'm just like, oh, that's just my girlfriend saying hi. I should probably not have those on. So what I understand here is that the stock consolidated so many times here, and it found a very strong support at 38.92, which it never broke. And then suddenly the stock just kind of started, departing from this base here, and it started kind of going up, and it found it basically broke through, this old resistance, which we'll say here, I'm going to put it at, let's see here. There's a few here, but I'm just going to say it broke the resistance here that it hit a couple of times of 42.43. And as you guys can see here, it just continued on an uptrend here. Now, this obviously happened over the course of, since this gap up right here, it happened over the course of between 7th of January and 4th of February. So if you would have entered Roku on a swing on the 4th of January, you would have been able to get, you would have been able to go from 33.39 all the way up to 50.80. That's 15 points in just 1 month. So let me talk real quick about the indicators that I use here for my swing trades. So the red indicator that you see right here is the 50-day EMA, which as you can see can act as a support, but also as a resistance depending on what the stock is doing. What I also use these green dots is a indicator here called reverse engineering RSI. And basically what it is, it's the RSI. I'm just going to take this off and this off. It's the RSI, but in linear and more of just a dotted form. So basically, whenever the stock is above 50 RSI, it's healthy. When it's below 50 RSI, it's probably somewhat on a downtrend. So just to show you guys what I mean, if I draw a horizontal line across the RSI here, I'm not going to be exact, but let's say 50 here, you guys can see that anytime the stock is above 50 RSI, that correlates with it being above and doing good. Now, just remember, a stock is always going to pull back and retest, right? So as just because it goes below the 50 RSI does not mean that it's going to crash. It just means that it's just doing its natural process of retesting to see if, you know, if it's actually going to find a new support or if it's going to continue and break a new resistance. So as you can see, Roku here is a prime example of a great swing because as it basically departed here on this point right here, it found new so it found higher lows and higher highs, and then as you can see here, it created this perfect example of a bull flag, which I'm going to draw for you guys right here after this really big basically momentum here that it had. Now you're always going to notice that whenever a stock is on a strong like momentum, like here for example, it's very common for you to see anywhere from, you know, at least three green candles. Now I am on the 15-minute chart, so I'm going to go into the 5-minute if it'll just load, and I'll show you here that anytime the stock has giant momentum, it's going to have at least two really long candles that are supported by volume and just big price changes, as you can see here. Of course, it's going to consolidate over here and over here, and then obviously, actually, let me just add volume here. I don't know why I don't have it on there. There we go. Perfect. So as you guys can see, the volume here, it's supported by a bigger than usual volume burst, so to speak. So as you guys can see, I'm going to go back to the 15-minute chart here, and I'm going to show you guys basically the perfect example of how to use the bull flag and how to be able to draw that with your trend lines here. So as you can see, after this big move from 43.77 to 46.16, it created this kind of bull flag right here that I'm going to draw. Let's see if I can do this. Right here. So this is basically the key for you to enter some kind of a swing position, because you want to be able to see how the stock is reacting to this giant gap right here. You see how like it starts kind of hitting, it obviously starts consolidating around this area, but as it consolidates, you know, the higher becomes lower, and then the low here becomes like, it doesn't go below it, it kind of stays kind of horizontal, and then suddenly it just gaps up, right? So you could have entered Roku anytime after it broke resistance over here, and then just be patient with it, and then just let it ride, and then suddenly it has that huge gap up, and then it creates that bull flag, and then boom, it just goes all the way up to 50. So you're looking for all these indications that the stock is healthy. You're looking at how it handles support, and you're also looking at basically the news surrounding the stock, especially if it's about to hit earnings, or if it has been joined forces with another company, or if it's being bought out or anything like that. All these things are things that will basically bring the value of the stock up. For example, when IBM acquired Red Hat, Red Hat just went crazy with that stock, and it just shot up like crazy. So again, it's a combination of technicals but also fundamentals. So that's a good example of how to swing and what to think about when swinging a stock. You want to look at the big picture and see how it's been moving. But as you can see, Roku has had several giant moves to the upside since December 24th. And as you can just see here, I mean, if I draw, and this goes back to the whole, top-down analysis, where you go into a kind of like a bigger time frame, and then you slowly go into the lower time frames. But if I draw, just a line here from December 24th, you can see that Roku has been in a constant uptrend. And whenever it's been consolidating here, it really hasn't. It didn't fill this gap right here. It hit it, once, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 5 times, and it just did not break it. So that just means that it just wants to stay there. Now, obviously, if it doesn't, it's gonna come crashing down. But that's why we have stop losses. That's why we say, okay, let's say if I buy the stock somewhere around here, okay, I'm gonna set my stop loss here or here. Again, we're looking at a possible, $2 loss for a potential win or gain of $50. Now we look back at Roku, and if I go back into the one-day chart, I know that Roku has so much room to grow, to just, it has all this stuff right here that it can gain. I mean, it had a high of $76. So again, I'm looking at the potential for how much the stock can go up. Now, if this right here, what it hit today, would have been an all-time high, then we don't know how much further up it can go. But we can see here that Roku being, a stock that lost a lot of value since October, it just has so much room to go up. So again, going back to the 15-minute chart, I can show you guys again how it looks like when we are patient and we wait for that dip up. Now, of course, always remember, when a stock dips up like this, it's probably going to do a big sell-off right after. But what you want to do is, once you see 1, 2, 3, even 4 candles, my exit point would have probably been around here. So this area right here. So you have to watch it, and you have to take profit whenever you can. So I've basically listed, several different types of ideas on how to spot a good stock for a swing. Now, before I go, I'm going to go into UWT. This is another one that I'm actually swinging right now myself. I purchased 100 shares of UWT, which is an ETF for crude oil. It basically gives you 3 times the returns of what ticker symbol CL is doing, the light crude oil futures, which I'm going to show you right here. If it will load. right there. So that's the future, and then this is the ETF. UWT is the ETF for it. So you can obviously you would always want to find a leveraged ETF because it'll give you the biggest bang for your buck, so to speak. But as you can see, UWT here, and I'm going to go back to the 5-minute chart. UWT is basically oil. So as we get into the summer months, I understand that more people are going to be out on the road, more people are going to need gas. So compared to the past, so I'm looking at past price action. If I go into, for example, let's see here, we're in February right now, so I'm going into around the 9th of February of 2018. I noticed that between February and May, the stock basically went from, let's see, 22.77 up to 41.48. So that's double. That it basically went up twice. So I know here that once UWT hit its low here in December, which is the winter when people aren't out driving their cars in most of the country just because it's so cold and it's dangerous, it hit a low of 820, and then it basically, as we got into February, as you can see, there's a nice cup and handle pattern here, and it reversed its pattern. So now I know that I am now finding myself in this place right here. So again, this is a long-term swing. I'm expecting this stock to move up to the 30+ range come April and May, which is a great way to swing this. And you may be wondering, hey, so how come how come it dropped so much here? How come it didn't just find support at these same levels? Sometimes ETFs, like what happens is ETFs over time, they are decaying instruments. So basically an ETF is not something that you're meant to hold for years. It's something that you're meant to hold for a period of weeks to months, and then don't really worry about the past actual dollar amount that it was at. But what you want to worry about is how much the stock has increased between the dates, between the end of the winter and the beginning of the summer. So that's another way to, again, look at a possible swing. Again, here's the 50 RSI, reverse engineering, which kind of went above, and it stayed above. Today it rejected it, and it's basically on a constant uptrend. So I hope this basically clarifies how to find swings. My biggest suggestion to you is if you're going to swing options, be very, very careful. Swinging is something that I would recommend you to do with stocks, because you can set a stop loss and you can decide what the risk is. So for example, here today I entered, I'm going to go back to the 5-minute chart. I'm going to show you when I entered UWT. So I entered UWT in pre-market. So I'm going to just go to time sessions here, show you. So I entered UWT at I believe it was 1435. So I noticed that it had reached a high of, or sorry, not a high, but it closed yesterday, so the day before, just below 15, and then in aftermarket hours it dipped, which is fine. Took the opportunity there to buy it at 1435, and then it basically dipped again, and then it just kind of found its way back up again, and now it basically is at 1451, and it should only hopefully go up from here. So as you can see, it's all about you looking at risk management. So I understand that worst case scenario, here's the low, I'm going to lose a few dollars, but the upside is $15. So again, 1 to 5, 5 to 1, depending on how you want to look at it. If you're going to go long or if you're going to go short, you are risking 1 to gain 5. So that's basically how I look at swings, and I hope again that this made sense to you guys. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me under Ask the Pros, and I will see you guys on the next video. Peace out.